All right, we are going to go from Baker Mayfield at 6th overall. At 7th, I am going to take the Los Angeles Rams. I'm not sure I would have look, they got rid of Cooper Kupp, but they brought in Devontae Adams, and to me that is probably a slight upgrade because Cooper Kupp has kind of been slowing down, hasn't looked as good really the past year or two, has been kind of bogged down by injuries. Whereas Devontae Adams put up huge numbers, even though he played in 2 very average offenses last season with the Raiders and the Jets. So now you go to Matthew Stafford. I mean, Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams on the same team almost seems unfair. And so when I look at this offense, Kyron Williams has really come along and turned into a guy that you don't need a running back by committee because he's proven that he can be that guy in the backfield. So I love this offense. I think the Rams are going to be a Super Bowl contender, and I'm going to take them. And, of course, Matthew Stafford.
Dude, that's first off, any argument that starts with because Matt Stafford, I am all in on because, like, you even listen to guys like Tom Brady when asked who the best throwers of the football are in the history of our game. Matt Stafford's on the very short list that's on the tip of his tongue. Speaks volumes about him, and obviously coupled with Sean McVay's excellence as a head coach, I respect his game so much. Les Snead's roster build, that group can go far. I didn't have them quite where you picked them, but I understand. I understand where you're going there. If Devontae's right,
are you saying I reached?
Not a reach. I would say it's like not a reach of the arm, but like your finger went out a little bit to go get that one. I love the Rams though. They're a blast to watch, and their defense is great. But this isn't a defensive draft. One group that I'm always going to put my money on is the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line. I will forever bet on Jeff Stoutland, and forever, now that I know that Nick Sirianni is not a fluke, bet on Nick Sirianni and this character Jalen Hurts, who seemingly gets 5 downs. It's unbelievable to watch this offense go. And while they don't need to be the explosive Cincinnati Bengals type offense week in, week out to win games, because they do have Vic Fangio and a great defense and young budding superstars on that side of the football, the offense does what it needs to do every week. And if it does find itself in a shootout, it can go up there and do that too. I like the Philadelphia Eagles. This may be my breach because you went Rams. I'm going to go Eagles here.
Well, you know what, though? I'm glad you took the Eagles because I was just thinking if the Eagles don't go in the top 10, that's the one fan base that would have sent us hate mail and just been like, we just won the Super Bowl. We have Saquon Barkley. We have 2 of the top receivers in the NFL. Why aren't we in the top 10? But now we don't have to worry about that, because they are 8th overall. All right, let's 9th overall. For me, this one is a little bit more difficult. There's about 3 teams I really like in this spot. I am going to go with, stay in the NFC East and go with the Washington Commanders. Look, Terry McLaurin. We all know what Jaden Daniels just did last season. Now he's going, as long as he doesn't hit that kind of sophomore slump that we saw from CJ, I don't think it will happen. He's got a brilliant play caller in Cliff Kingsbury. They traded for Deebo Samuel, and they went out and they said, look, we got a guy in a rookie contract. Let's make our offensive line better. You trade for Laramie Tunsil, who's one of the best left tackles in football. And so they've upgraded all over the place on offense. So they should be better than they were last season. And there were 4 games where they didn't punt last season. So they were really good last season. So I'm going to go Commanders at.
Damn it, breach. And you know what?
I'm sorry.
So obviously I'm a Bears fan. And this is the point in the show. It's called a dead stop in the investment world, where if your portfolio or if your stock dips into a certain spot, the computer automatically pulls you out of ownership. Well, the dead stop for me on picking the Chicago Bears was when either the Bears came up in my power ranking or the Commanders went. So now my dead stop has been activated. Give me the Chicago Bears. Ben Johnson, brilliant. Caleb Williams, wildly talented. Roma Dunze is a superstar laying in wait that wasn't utilized to the maximum of his potential last year. Colston Loveland, I think, has one of those Sam Laporta type years for the Chicago Bears. The safety blanket, he gets to flex a lot of muscles in Ben Johnson's offense. I love this team. This is the time that it changes, Breach. And this is the time that Bears brass hit the home run in the hiring process. They got the pick right. Jaden Daniels would have been the right pick as well, but you're not wrong with either of these guys. I love your Commanders pick. I don't think he has a sophomore slump. I think they did get better. But I think the issue with Washington is that they were in the NFC Championship, and those expectations are sky high. It's tough to repeat that act. But for the Bears, last year there was a lot to be desired, and you're going to see this offense really show out this year. I got them at, what is this, number 9, number 10?
Yeah, 10th overall, top 10. They're in the top 10.
Love that.
Usually I would say this is a huge homer pick, and you've got to be a celebrity here because we've got multiple Bears fans working with us at CBS Sports. And so before you were here, all we heard every year was, this is the Bears year. This is the Bears year. Just like you said, I think this might actually finally be the Bears year.
Yeah.
But I'll be the independent guy here, and I'll agree with you. Look, Ben Johnson, he looks like he's trying to do the same thing he did in Detroit. You just revamping the offensive line. Just so brilliant after Caleb Williams just got beat up so bad last year. Give him some time to throw. He looks good. So I don't think this is that crazy. I thought I had the Bears in the top 15 on my list, so I think getting them at 10th overall isn't a homer reach. You could absolutely make the argument that they belong here. 11th, I'm going to go with the San Francisco 49ers.
These are great picks, Breach.
Look, there's a lot of question marks here. We don't know what Brandon Ayuk's going to look like coming off his injury. Brock Purdy struggled when he didn't have all his superstars to throw to. We don't know what Christian McCaffrey is going to look like after being hobbled all season. So there are so many question marks. But again, it's like you were talking about.
But if they're right.
Exactly. The ceiling. You talked about it with the Chiefs. The ceiling's high.
I love that pick so much, and it pisses me off because I thought I was smart guy, Johnny Smart Guy, putting the 49ers in here in my next power ranking. But it was you. It was you that was a smart guy all the time. Et tu, Brute. Okay, so with the next one, this is one of those if teams, and they find themselves just outside the top 10, and I'll probably hear about this. The Dallas Cowboys.
Ooh.
Okay? I can't help but watch when it's Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. You know what I'm saying? When they're on and they're in prime time, like there's no better thing to watch than Dak Prescott out there competing his butt off. They've got an offensive line that had 2 rookies out there on the offensive line last year. So they're second-year players. They will make a big jump. They obviously just drafted Tyler Booker. I think is a face eater. He's a monster in there at the guard position. They're going to be a lot better. I don't think Dak has to fall off. I think CeeDee Lamb's got the chops, as Adam Shine says, my host on Tops. And obviously, let's face it, if George Pickens is right, this offense is going to be a nightmare for defensive coordinators and secondaries.
Yeah, and you look at what the Cowboys have done. Yeah, they had Brandon Cooks for a few years, but they didn't have a strong number 2 guy. And so I think that's going to change things dramatically for that offense because now, if you're double teaming CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens is a legitimate threat to do damage on the other side. So I like it. And you know what? Let's just do the Texas 2-step here. I'll stay in Texas and I'll go with the Houston Texans at 13th overall. I think when you look at what happened to them last season, I feel like a lot of CJ Stroud struggles. 2 things. The offensive line kind of in disarray. He took a lot of sacks. Not all on the line, though, because sometimes he holds the ball a little bit too long.
They're never on the line, by the way, Breach.
Hey, I agree. The line always gets blamed for every sack when it feels like only about 50% of the time they should actually be blamed. And then his receivers, they were all banged up. We obviously saw what happened to Tank Dell, unfortunate injury. Stephon Diggs tearing his ACL. Nico Collins missing multiple games due to a hamstring injury. So you're talking about CJ Stroud was missing his top 3 receivers. Of course, any quarterback.
Nico Collins, who was breaking records at that point in the season.
Exactly. So, yeah, I do think the Texans, as long as everyone is healthy, should be better, and as long as their new look line holds up.
I love that pick, and I root for a guy like CJ Stroud because another one of these dudes, you can't avert your gaze. You're just like so into watching CJ Stroud play football when he's doing it right. Okay, so you went Rams, so they're off my hot list. I got one team that I got a question mark about. I don't think I'm going to throw them in there. I'm going to surprise some people here with this next pick.
Love surprises.
I'm going to go with the Atlanta Falcons.
Ooh, that is a surprise.
So I'm obsessed with Michael Penix Jr. I don't get it. I think I need help. I think I need to see a doctor. But Michael Penix Jr. Might be the prescription that my doctor writes me, just more Michael Penix. This offense has the right archetype of superstar at the right spots. Okay, they've got variation at the receiver position. I love Drake London. Darnell Mooney is a guy that can be a star in this league. And at times last year, we saw him make fantastic catches. Bijan Robinson, There may be only one other guy in the league who I think you can put in that category physically, and he plays in Philadelphia, and he just won a Super Bowl. Michael Penix Jr. is a competitor. We watched him play last year against Washington in primetime, go toe-to-toe with the golden boy, Jaden Daniels. I want more of that. I got a taste of that Michael Penix offense in Atlanta, and I was like, I need more. And he's lefty, so everything's inverted, and I'm a lefty. I want to watch more of it. I think that they have a great year. I think Michael Penix Jr. wins some award. Give me the Falcons.
I love it. The lefty love, southpaw showing here. And fun fact, when Michael Penix and the Falcons played Tua and the Dolphins, I think it's in December, the first time two lefty quarterbacks have faced each other since, I think, 2006.
Wow.
Long time. You know what, though? I feel like a lot of pressure here is going to be on Zach Robinson, the offensive coordinator, because they do have the playmakers in Atlanta. You got to make it click. So you got to get that thing going. Yeah, definitely a surprise pick, but I don't think this is completely crazy. I think the argument against the Falcons is, hey, Michael Penix only has 3 games where we've gotten to see him, but he was fantastic in all those.
Ceiling pick.
Ceiling pick. I love it. The ceiling pick is the theme today. All right, I'm going to go top 15. Think we're going to get some hate mail from Green Bay if we don't take the Packers soon. So I'm going to take the Packers.
Yep.
Not because I feel like Packers fans will hate us if we don't, but I do think they are a top 15 offense. Look, we all know about Jordan Love, Josh Jacobs, and they finally went out and drafted a receiver in the first round for the first time since Kyle and I were teenagers. It was a miracle to see that. Matthew Golden going there, and then they also took a receiver in the 3rd round. So it seems like they're serious about just kind of fixing that receiver room and trying to answer the question marks that are there, because we don't know if Jaden Reed is a true number 1 receiver. Christian Watson, obviously there, but deals with injuries, and Romeo Doubs. So adding 2 new receivers, I think, could make this offense a lot better.
Okay, we're going to go one more pick before we hit a break. And you know what? I'm gonna get everybody charged up. All right, I'm gonna get you charged up to the boys out on the West Coast, Los Angeles Chargers. As an Oregon Duck and a Justin Herbert fan, I root for this guy. All right, and he's gotten a lot of hate mail over the years, but he's got a bully in town in Jim Harbaugh. And we saw last year they were building a bully with that football team. I love the offensive tackles in Los Angeles. Joe Alt was a home run from day one. Was an ass kicker, alpha. Rashawn Slater is a great football player. And obviously it's going to come down to weapons. But I think that with this football team having an identity that they do, they're going to be able to move the ball at will on the ground. It'll open things up for Justin Herbert week in, week out. If this team can stay healthy, they'll be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And Najee Harris, that was a huge signing. They went out and drafted Amari Hampton. So they clearly plan to run the ball a lot, which is good because it's Ladd McConkey and Mike Williams. Those are your 2 which isn't bad, but that's probably why they're 16th in our rankings and not top 10.